The reluctant princess. Princess Zara of the Aetherian Empire stood at the viewpoint of the grand spaceport, her iridescent scales shimmering under the light of 3 moons. Her antennae twitched with barely contained frustration as she watched yet another gleaming Confederation cruiser prepare for departure. The ship's sleek lines and pulsing energy fields were a testament to the advanced technology of the Galactic Confederation, a stark contrast to the vessel that had just docked at the far end of the spaceport. The human ship, if one could even call it that, was a patchwork of metals and polymers. Its hull bore the scars of multiple repairs, and its propulsion systems seemed to defy the laws of physics as understood by the Confederation's brightest minds. Yet, despite its apparent crudeness, it had traversed the vast expanse of space to reach Etheria, a feat that had impressed even the most skeptical of Zara's advisors. "Your Highness," a voice chirped behind her. Zara turned to see her chief diplomat, Vex, approaching with a datapad in hand. "The human delegation has arrived and is requesting an audience." Zara's outer eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of her displeasure. "Tell them I'm indisposed. I have no interest in meeting with barbarians who can barely keep their ships from falling apart mid-flight." Vex's tendrils curled anxiously. "With all due respect, Your Highness, the Confederation Council has made it clear that we are to extend every courtesy to the humans. They may be newcomers to the galactic stage, but their achievements in such a short time are remarkable." The princess scoffed, a sound that resonated through her thorax. "Remarkable. They've barely mastered faster-than-light travel, and you want me to treat them as equals?" "Not as equals, Your Highness," Vex replied carefully, "but as potential allies. The humans have shown an uncanny ability to innovate in ways our scientists find perplexing. It would be unwise to dismiss them outright." Zara's antennae drooped slightly, a sign she was considering Vex's words. She had to admit, albeit reluctantly, that the humans' arrival had caused quite a stir in the normally stagnant halls of Confederation politics. Their unorthodox methods and seemingly impossible technological leaps had captured the imagination of many species, including some of her own subjects. "Very well," she conceded. "I will meet with them. But I want it made clear that this is a courtesy, nothing more. The Aetherian Empire has no need for human trinkets or their haphazard approach to spacefaring." Vex bowed deeply, relief evident in the relaxation of his tendrils. "Of course, Your Highness. I'll arrange the meeting immediately." As Vex scurried away, Zara returned her gaze to the human ship. Its engines were powering down, releasing puffs of what appeared to be actual steam, a concept so antiquated that Zara found it almost quaint. She watched as a group of bipedal figures emerged from the ship, their soft, fur-less skin exposed to the Aetherian atmosphere. They wore no protective suits, seemingly unbothered by the higher gravity and different air composition. Intrigued to spite herself, Zara observed the humans more closely. They moved with a confidence that belied their status as galactic newcomers. Their gestures were animated, their faces expressive in ways that fascinated the princess. Aetherian communication relied heavily on pheromones and subtle movements of antennae and tendrils. The humans, by contrast, seemed to broadcast their emotions for all to see. As the human delegation made its way towards the spaceport's main complex, Zara found herself wondering what it would be like to converse with these strange beings. Their technology might be crude, but there was an undeniable energy about them that piqued her curiosity. The princess was startled from her reverie by a commotion near the human ship. A small group of Aetherian dock workers had gathered around what appeared to be a malfunctioning piece of equipment. To Zara's surprise, one of the humans broke away from the delegation and approached the group. Without hesitation, the human knelt beside the machine, produced a small tool from a pocket, and began to tinker. Zara watched, fascinated, as the human's hands moved with surprising dexterity. Within moments, the machine whirred back to life, eliciting clicks and whistles of appreciation from the Aetherian workers. The human stood, exchanged a few words and what appeared to be a gesture of camaraderie, then rejoined their group as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. This small incident stirred something in Zara. It was a glimpse of the adaptability and problem-solving skills that had allowed humans to advance so quickly in the cosmic arena. Perhaps, she mused, there was more to these beings than met the eye. As Zara prepared to leave the viewpoint and meet the human delegation, she found herself reconsidering her initial dismissal. The Etherian Empire had long prided itself on its technological superiority and adherence to tradition. But in a galaxy full of wonders, could they afford to ignore the potential offered by these unpredictable newcomers? The princess straightened her posture, her scales shifting to a more regal hue. She would approach this meeting with an open mind, as befitting a leader of her stature. After all, the history of the galaxy was written by those brave enough to embrace the unknown. With a final glance at the human ship, somehow more intriguing than unsightly now, Zara set off to greet her unexpected guests. Little did she know that this encounter would be the first step in a journey that would challenge everything she thought she knew about her place in the universe and the true meaning of advanced civilization. As she walked, Zara's mind raced with questions. How had the humans achieved so much in so little time? What drove their relentless pursuit of the stars? And most intriguingly, what could the Etherian Empire, with all its ancient wisdom and advanced technology, learn from these upstart explorers? The answers, she suspected, would reshape the future of not just her empire, but the entire Galactic Confederation. With each step towards the meeting chamber, Princess Zara felt the weight of history upon her shoulders and the exhilarating possibility of a new era dawning for all species of the cosmos, the human diplomats. The grand meeting hall of the Etherian Palace buzzed with an energy rarely seen in its hallowed chambers. Princess Zara sat upon her crystalline throne, her scales now a deep, royal purple that signified both her authority and her cautious curiosity. Around her, members of the Etherian court whispered amongst themselves, their antennae twitching in anticipation. The massive doors swung open, and the human delegation entered. Leading the group was Ambassador Elena Chen, a woman of small stature but commanding presence. Her dark eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail with quiet intensity. Beside her walked Dr. Marcus Webb, a tall, lanky man whose fingers seemed to dance with nervous energy, as if itching to tinker with the alien technology surrounding them. As the humans approached the throne, Zara noticed something odd. Unlike most species she had encountered, who were often awed or intimidated by Etherian grandeur, the humans seemed excited. There was a gleam in their eyes, a spring in their step that spoke of eagerness rather than apprehension. Ambassador Chen bowed deeply, a gesture that surprised Zara with its grace. "Your Highness," she began, her voice clear and confident. "On behalf of the United Earth Alliance, we thank you for this audience. We come in peace and in the spirit of mutual discovery." Zara inclined her head slightly. "Welcome, Ambassador Chen. The Etherian Empire acknowledges your arrival and your unique contribution to galactic affairs." If Chen detected the slight condescension in Zara's tone, she didn't show it. Instead, she smiled warmly. "Your Highness, we understand that our methods and technology may seem unconventional to the esteemed members of the Galactic Confederation, but it is precisely this diversity of approach that we believe can benefit all species." Dr. Webb stepped forward, his excitement palpable. "Indeed, Your Highness, even now, as we stand in this magnificent hall, my mind races with the possibilities of combining Etherian crystal technology with our own quantum algorithms. The potential advancements in communication, energy production, even space-time manipulation are, well, they're simply staggering." Zara's outer eyelids blinked rapidly, taken aback by the human's forwardness. In Etherian culture, such direct speech to royalty would be considered a grave faux pas. Yet, she found herself intrigued by Webb's enthusiasm. "You speak boldly, Dr. Webb," Zara said, leaning forward slightly. "What makes you think your primitive technology could possibly enhance our centuries of advancement?" Ambassador Chen intervened smoothly. "Your Highness, if I may. What Dr. Webb is trying to express is our belief in the power of collaboration. Humans have a saying, 2 heads are better than 1. In this case, we propose that multiple species, multiple perspectives, can lead to innovations beyond what any single civilization might achieve alone. Murmurs rippled through the Etherian court. Zara could sense a mix of skepticism and intrigue among her advisors. She herself felt a conflict between her ingrained sense of superiority and a growing curiosity about these audacious humans. "A fine sentiment, Ambassador," Zara replied. "But sentiments do not power starships or defend borders. What tangible benefits could this collaboration bring to the Etherian Empire?" Chen's smile never wavered. "Your Highness, we've prepared a demonstration, if you'll allow it." Dr. Webb. Webb stepped forward, pulling a small device from his pocket. It was a crude-looking thing, all sharp angles and blinking lights. "This, Your Highness, is what we call a quantum harmonizer. It's designed to interface with various forms of energy fields and enhance their efficiency." Before Zara could object, Webb activated the device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the Etherians began to notice a change. The ambient light in the hall grew brighter, more vibrant. The very air seemed to hum with energy. Zara's chief scientist, Sar, rushed forward, his sensory appendages quivering. "Impossible," he muttered, consulting his own instruments. "The palace's power output has increased by 27% with no additional input." Webb beamed. "And that's just the beginning, Your Highness. With further refinement and integration with Etherian technology, we believe we can push that to 50%, maybe even 60%. For the first time since the meeting began, Zara felt her composure slip. The implications of such an advancement were enormous. Energy had always been the limiting factor in Etherian expansion and technological growth. If the humans could truly deliver on this promise. Ambassador Chen seized the moment. "Your Highness, this is but a small example of what cooperation between our species could achieve. We propose a joint mission, a voyage of discovery that would combine the best of Etherian and human innovation." Zara's mind raced. The conservative part of her wanted to dismiss this as a trick, a fluke. But the ruler in her, the part responsible for the continued growth and prosperity of her people, saw opportunity. "And what would this mission entail, Ambassador?" Zara asked, her voice carefully neutral. Chen's eyes sparkled. "A journey to the very edge of known space, Your Highness. To explore regions that have long been considered too dangerous or too distant for conventional travel. With Etherian stability and human adaptability, we believe we can go further, discover more, than either of our species could alone." The hall erupted in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and excited chatter. Zara raised a hand, and silence fell immediately. "A bold proposal, Ambassador Chen," Zara said. "But tell me, why should the Etherian Empire risk its resources, its people, on such a venture? What do you hope to gain?" Chen's response was immediate and passionate. "Knowledge, Your Highness. Understanding. The chance to unravel the mysteries of the universe together. And in doing so, perhaps we can forge a bond between our species that transcends mere political alliances." Zara sat back, her mind whirling with possibilities. The humans were brash, unconventional, and possibly dangerous. But they were also brilliant, adaptable, and filled with an infectious enthusiasm that she hadn't encountered in centuries of diplomatic meetings. "Your proposal requires careful consideration, Ambassador," Zara said finally. "We will need time to discuss and evaluate the potential risks and benefits." Chen bowed again. "Of course, Your Highness. We thank you for your time and your open-mindedness. Whatever your decision, we hope this meeting marks the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship between our peoples." As the human delegation was escorted from the hall, Zara found herself watching them go with a mixture of apprehension and excitement. These humans, with their patchwork ships and impossible ideas, had managed to do something she had thought impossible. They had awoken a sense of wonder in her that she hadn't felt since her youth. The coming days would be filled with debates, analyses, and careful negotiations. But as Zara adjourned the court, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had just witnessed the first tremors of a seismic shift in the galactic order. Whether that shift would lead to chaos or a new golden age remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: the arrival of humanity had ensured that the cosmos would never be the same again. Journey on the Starship Terror. The launch bay of the Etherian Grand Spaceport hummed with an unprecedented mix of excitement and tension. At its center stood the Starship Terror, a vessel that epitomized the newfound alliance between humans and Etherians. Its hull gleamed with a fusion of Etherian crystal lattices and human alloys, a visual representation of the two species' combined ingenuity. Princess Zara stood at the foot of the boarding ramp, her scales shimmering with a mix of royal purple and anxious green. Despite her initial reservations, she had agreed to join this pioneering mission as a gesture of goodwill and to personally oversee Etherian interests. Now, faced with the reality of boarding a human-designed ship, she felt a flutter of apprehension in her thorax. "Your Highness," Ambassador Chen's voice cut through Zara's thoughts. "Are you ready to make history?" Zara turned to face the human diplomat, noting the eager gleam in her eyes. "Ambassador Chen, I've been making history since before your species learned to split the atom. But yes, I suppose I'm as ready as one can be for such an unconventional journey." Chen smiled, seemingly immune to Zara's subtle barbs. "I promise you, Your Highness, this will be unlike any voyage you've experienced before." As they boarded the ship, Zara was struck by its interior. Unlike the sterile, efficient designs of Etherian vessels, the Starship Terror felt almost organic. Corridors curved in unexpected ways, and the walls pulsed with a soft, living light. "Welcome aboard, Your Highness," a cheerful voice boomed. Captain Yuki Tanaka, a stocky woman with close-cropped hair and laugh lines around her eyes, approached with an outstretched hand. Zara stared at it for a moment before remembering the human custom of handshaking. "Captain," Zara acknowledged, giddily extending a tendril to meet Tanaka's hand. "I trust your vessel is space-worthy." Tanaka's laugh was as booming as her voice. "Oh, she's more than worthy, Your Highness. Terra here is the best of both worlds, human innovation and Etherian precision. She'll take us further than any ship has gone before." As if on cue, the ship's engines thrummed to life, a sound that was somehow both familiar and alien to Zara's sensory organs. She felt a momentary panic. Was this rattling normal? But a quick glance at the calm, even excited, faces of the human crew reassured her. "Your Highness, would you like to join me on the bridge for takeoff?" Captain Tanaka asked. Zara nodded, following the captain through the winding corridors. The bridge was a hub of activity, humans, and a handful of Etherian scientists working in seamless coordination. At the center was a holographic display of breathtaking clarity, another product of their combined technologies. "All systems a go, Captain," reported the young human at the helm. "Ready for takeoff on your mark." Captain Tanaka turned to Zara with a grin. "Care to do the honors, Your Highness?" Zara blinked in surprise. It was a symbolic gesture, she knew, but a powerful one nonetheless. Drawing herself up to her full height, she announced, "Starship Terror, you have permission for launch. May the stars guide our journey." The takeoff was smoother than Zara had expected. As they broke free of Etheria's atmosphere, the view from the bridge's panoramic windows took her breath away. Her homeworld, a swirling orb of purples and greens, grew smaller by the second. Preparing for FTL jump, the helmsman announced. New coordinates locked in. Zara braced herself, expecting the usual discomfort of faster-than-light travel. Instead, as the stars outside blurred into streaks of light, she felt only a gentle push, as if the ship were gliding on a cosmic current. "Remarkable," she whispered, her scientific curiosity overriding her royal composure. Dr. Webb, who had been quietly monitoring a console nearby, beamed at her reaction. "It's a modified Alcubierre drive, Your Highness. Instead of moving through space, we're moving space around us. The integration of Etherian crystal matrices has allowed us to stabilize the warp bubble in ways we never thought possible. As the initial excitement of the launch settled, Zara found herself drawn into conversations with the crew. She was surprised by their openness, their willingness to share ideas and listen to hers in return. It was a far cry from the rigid hierarchies she was accustomed to. Over the following days, Zara's initial skepticism began to fade. She observed humans tackling problems with a creativity that both baffled and impressed her. When a power fluctuation threatened to destabilize their warp field, it was a junior engineer's unorthodox solution, rerouting power through the ship's waste recycling system, that saved the day. During meals in the ship's communal dining area, a concept Zara found oddly charming, she engaged in lively debates with the crew. Topics ranged from philosophy to quantum mechanics, and Zara found herself challenged and invigorated by these exchanges. One evening, as she sat with Ambassador Chen, watching the stars streak by, Zara admitted, "I may have underestimated your people, Ambassador." Chen smiled softly. "Many do, Your Highness. Our strength lies not in perfection, but in our ability to adapt, to think outside the box. We stumble often, but we learn from each fall." Zara contemplated this. It's a strange approach, inefficient, one might argue. Perhaps, Chen agreed, but it's taken us from cave paintings to the stars in a blink of cosmic time. Imagine what we could achieve with the wisdom and technology of species like yours to guide us. As the journey progressed, the Starship Terra ventured into uncharted regions of space. They discovered phenomena that defied both human and Etherian understanding, stellar nurseries of impossible colors, space-time anomalies that challenged the laws of physics. With each discovery, Zara felt a change within herself. The rigid boundaries of her worldview were expanding, much like the universe around them. She found herself looking forward to the daily briefings, eager to hear the latest theories and wild speculations from the mixed human-Etherian science team. But as they pushed further into the unknown, tensions began to simmer beneath the surface of their harmonious cooperation. Some of the Etherian scientists grumbled about the humans' reckless approach to exploration. Meanwhile, a faction of the human crew grew frustrated with what they perceived as overly cautious Etherian protocols. Zara observed these undercurrents with growing concern. The success of their mission, and perhaps the future of human-Etherian relations, hinged on their ability to work together. As a leader, she knew she would need to address these issues before they escalated. Yet, even as she grappled with these challenges, Zara couldn't deny the thrill of their journey. For the first time in centuries, she felt truly alive, truly part of something greater than herself or her empire. As the Starship Terra sailed deeper into the cosmic unknown, Zara realized that this voyage was changing more than just the star charts. It was changing her people, and perhaps changing the very fabric of galactic society. The true test of their alliance, she knew, still lay ahead. But as she stood on the bridge, watching the universe unfold before them, Princess Zara of the Etherian Empire allowed herself to hope for a future where the stars themselves were the only limit to what they could achieve together. Zara blinked in surprise. It was a symbolic gesture, she knew, but a powerful one nonetheless. Drawing herself up to her full height, she announced, "Starship Terra, you have permission for launch. May the stars guide our journey." The takeoff was smoother than Zara had expected. As they broke free of Etheria's atmosphere, the view from the bridge's panoramic windows took her breath away. Her homeworld, a swirling orb of purples and greens, grew smaller by the second. Preparing for FTL jump, the helmsman announced. New coordinates locked in. Zara braced herself, expecting the usual discomfort of faster-than-light travel. Instead, as the stars outside blurred into streaks of light, she felt only a gentle push, as if the ship were gliding on a cosmic current. "Remarkable," she whispered, her scientific curiosity overriding her royal composure. Dr. Webb, who had been quietly monitoring a console nearby, beamed at her reaction. It's a modified Alcubierre drive, Your Highness. Instead of moving through space, we're moving space around us. The integration of Etherian crystal matrices has allowed us to stabilize the warp bubble in ways we never thought possible. As the initial excitement of the launch settled, Zara found herself drawn into conversations with the crew. She was surprised by their openness, their willingness to share ideas and listen to hers in return. It was a far cry from the rigid hierarchies she was accustomed to. Over the following days, Zara's initial skepticism began to fade. She observed humans tackling problems with a creativity that both baffled and impressed her. When a power fluctuation threatened to destabilize their warp field, it was a junior engineer's unorthodox solution, rerouting power through the ship's waste recycling system, that saved the day. During meals in the ship's communal dining area, a concept Zara found oddly charming, she engaged in lively debates with the crew. Topics ranged from philosophy to quantum mechanics, and Zara found herself challenged and invigorated by these exchanges. One evening, as she sat with Ambassador Chen watching the stars streak by, Zara admitted, "I may have underestimated your people, Ambassador." Chen smiled softly. "Many do, Your Highness. Our strength lies not in perfection, but in our ability to adapt, to think outside the box. We stumble often, but we learn from each fall." Zara contemplated this. It's a strange approach, inefficient, one might argue. "Perhaps," Chen agreed, "but it's taken us from cave paintings to the stars in a blink of cosmic time. Imagine what we could achieve with the wisdom and technology of species like yours to guide us." As the journey progressed, the Starship Terra ventured into uncharted regions of space. They discovered phenomena that defied both human and Etherian understanding. Stellar nurseries of impossible colors, space-time anomalies that challenged the laws of physics. With each discovery, Zara felt a change within herself. The rigid boundaries of her worldview were expanding, much like the universe around them. She found herself looking forward to the daily briefings, eager to hear the latest theories and wild speculations from the mixed human-Etherian science team. But as they pushed further into the unknown, tensions began to simmer beneath the surface of their harmonious cooperation. Some of the Etherian scientists grumbled about the humans' reckless approach to exploration. Meanwhile, a faction of the human crew grew frustrated with what they perceived as overly cautious Etherian protocols. Zara observed these undercurrents with growing concern. The success of their mission, and perhaps the future of human-Etherian relations, hinged on their ability to work together. As a leader, she knew she would need to address these issues before they escalated. Yet, even as she grappled with these challenges, Zara couldn't deny the thrill of their journey. For the first time in centuries, she felt truly alive, truly part of something greater than herself or her empire. As the Starship Terra sailed deeper into the cosmic unknown, Zara realized that this voyage was changing more than just the star charts. It was changing her people, and perhaps changing the very fabric of galactic society. The true test of their alliance, she knew, still lay ahead. But as she stood on the bridge, watching the universe unfold before them, Princess Zara of the Etherian Empire allowed herself to hope for a future where the stars themselves were the only limit to what they could achieve toward a cosmic crisis. The Starship Terra's journey had been progressing smoothly for weeks, each day bringing new discoveries and strengthening the bonds between the human and Etherian crew. However, the calm was shattered one ordinary shift when alarms blared across the ship, jolting everyone into high alert. Princess Zara rushed to the bridge, her scales a turbulent mix of worried blues and alarmed reds. "Captain Tanaka, what's happening?" she demanded as she entered. Captain Tanaka's usually jovial face was grim. "Your Highness, we've detected a massive anomaly directly in our path. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made even Zara's alien blood run cold. Ahead of them, space itself seemed to be tearing apart. A colossal rift hung in the void, its edges writhing with tendrils of dark energy. Bursts of radiation and gravitational waves pulsed from its maw, each one powerful enough to rip a planet apart. Dr. Webb's fingers danced over his console, his face pale but determined. "It's some kind of interdimensional tear," he announced. "The energy readings are off the charts. If it continues to expand at its current rate, it could destabilize its entire sector of the galaxy within days." Zara's mind reeled at the implications. This region of space, while uncharted, was not far from major trade routes and several inhabited systems. The potential for catastrophic loss of life was staggering. "Can we seal it?" Zara asked, her royal training kicking in, pushing panic aside in favor of action. Captain Tanaka shook her head. "Not with our current resources. This is beyond anything we're equipped to handle." A tense silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the insistent beeping of various alarms. Zara looked around at the faces of the crew, human and Etherian alike, and saw a mix of fear and determination. In that moment, she realized that the success of their mission, perhaps the fate of this part of the galaxy, rested on their ability to work together. "We need options," Zara declared, her voice ringing with authority. "Human ingenuity and Etherian wisdom, now is the time to put our alliance to the test." The next hours were a flurry of activity. The science team, a mix of humans and Etherians, worked feverishly to understand the nature of the rift. Engineers from both species huddled over schematics, trying to repurpose the ship's systems into something, anything, that could help. Zara found herself in the thick of it, her centuries of knowledge and experience proving invaluable. She worked side by side with Dr. Webb, that earlier tensions forgotten in the face of crisis. "If we could generate a reverse tachyon pulse," Zara mused, her antennae twitching with concentration, "we might be able to stabilize the rift's edges." Webb nodded excitedly. "Yes, and if we combine that with a modified version of your people's crystal lattice technology, we could create a field strong enough to contain the dark energy bursts." Their plan was audacious, borderline insane by both human and Etherian standards. It would require pushing their hybrid technology to its absolute limits and beyond. As they presented their idea to Captain Tanaka, Zara could see the weight of command heavy on the human's shoulders. "It's risky," Tanaka said slowly. "We have to divert almost all of our power to the main deflector. One miscalculation and we could be torn apart." "But if we do nothing, billions could die," Zara countered, surprised by the passion in her own voice. "Captain, I believe this is a risk we must take." Tanaka looked from Zara to Webb, then around at her crew. Slowly she nodded. "All right, let's do this. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers." The next few hours were the most intense of Zara's long life. The Starship Terror positioned itself perilously close to the rift, buffeted by waves of gravitational distortion. In the engine room, human and Etherian engineers worked in perfect synchronization, rerouting power and recalibrating systems on the fly. On the bridge, Zara stood beside Captain Tanaka, feeding calculations to the helm as fast as she and Dr. Webb could produce them. The view screen showed the rift looming ever larger, its maw seeming to hunger for their small ship. "Deflector at full power," Webb called out, initiating tachyon pulse in 3, 2, 1, now. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the Terror, striking the heart of the rift. For a terrifying moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the edges of the tear began to stabilize. "It's working," someone shouted, but their celebration was premature. A massive surge of dark energy erupted from the rift, slamming into the ship. The Terror shuddered violently, sparks flying from consoles across the bridge. "Hull breach on deck 4, an ensign cried out. "Shields failing." Zara felt fear grip her hearts, but she pushed it aside. "Reroute emergency power to the deflector," she ordered, her royal authority ringing clear. "We need to maintain the tachyon beam at all costs." As the ship groaned around them, as klaxons wailed and crew members fought to keep systems online, Zara realized something profound. In this moment of crisis, there was no distinction between human and Etherian. They were one crew, united in their desperate fight for survival. For what felt like an eternity, the Starship Terror hung on the edge of destruction. The rift pulsed and writhed, fighting against their efforts to close it. But slowly, agonizingly, it began to shrink. "Just a little more," Webb muttered, his hands flying over his console. "We're almost there." With a final cataclysmic burst of energy, the rift collapsed in on itself. The view screen flared white, then faded to show nothing but the star-studded backdrop of normal space. A stunned silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the hiss of a ruptured conduit and the heavy breathing of the exhausted crew. Then, as the realization of what they'd accomplished sank in, cheers erupted. Humans and Etherians alike embraced, their differences forgotten in the joy of shared triumph. Zara found herself swept up in the emotion of the moment. As Captain Tanaka grasped her tendril in a firm handshake, the princess felt a smile, a very human expression, spread across her face. "We did it," Tanaka said, her voice filled with awe and relief. "Together, we did the impossible." As the initial euphoria faded and the crew set about repairing the battered ship, Zara retreated to her quarters. Looking out at the now calm expanse of space, she reflected on how much had changed since the beginning of this journey. She had come aboard skeptical of human capabilities, wary of their unorthodox methods. Now she had witnessed firsthand the power of their adaptability, their relentless drive to overcome challenges, and in turn, she had seen her own people rise to the occasion, combining that ancient wisdom with human innovation to achieve something truly extraordinary. The crisis had forged a bond between the two species stronger than any diplomatic agreement. As Zara contemplated the future, she realized that this was only the beginning. The true potential of their alliance was only just beginning to unfold. With renewed purpose, Princess Zara of the Etherian Empire prepared to face whatever new challenges the cosmos might throw their way. For the first time in her long life, she found herself truly excited about the uncertainties that lay ahead. The battle for unity. In the wake of their triumph over the interdimensional rift, the crew of the Starship Terror basked in a newfound sense of unity and purpose. However, as news of their incredible feat spread across subspace channels to both human and Etherian territories, the political ramifications of their mission began to unfold in unexpected ways. Princess Zara stood on the bridge, her scales shimmering with concern as she listened to a transmission from the Etherian High Council. The councillors' voices were filled with a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Your Highness," the chief councillor's hologram flickered, "while we commend your bravery, we must express our deep concern over the risks taken during this mission. The exposure of our advanced crystal lattice technology to the humans is troubling." Before Zara could respond, another transmission cut in, this time from the United Earth Alliance. Admiral Zao's stern face appeared alongside the Etherian hologram. "Captain Tanaka, Princess Zara," he began, his voice tense. "The Alliance congratulates you on your success. However, we have serious questions about the extent of Etherian involvement in what was meant to be a human-led expedition." Captain Tanaka stepped forward, her usual easygoing demeanor replaced by a captain's resolve. "With all due respect, Admiral, Council members, this mission's success was only possible through full cooperation between our species." Zara nodded in agreement. "Indeed, the crisis we faced required both human ingenuity and Etherian wisdom. Neither of us could have succeeded alone." The transmissions erupted into a cacophony of arguments and counter-arguments. Fears of technological espionage, accusations of overstepping diplomatic boundaries, and debates over the future of human-Etherian relations filled the airwaves. As the arguments intensified, Zara noticed a shift in the crew around her. The sense of unity that had been so palpable during the crisis began to fracture. Human crew members huddled together, whispering concerns about Etherian superiority. Etherian scientists clutched their datapads protectively, eyeing their human counterparts with renewed suspicion. Dr. Webb approached Zara, his face etched with worry. "Your Highness, we can't let politics undo everything we've accomplished. The potential for what we can achieve together is too great to ignore." Zara's antennae twitched in agreement. "You're right, Doctor. But how do we convince them when they're light years away, seeing only the risks and not the rewards of our collaboration?" An idea sparked in Zara's mind. It was audacious, perhaps even reckless, but it might be their only chance to preserve the alliance they forged. "Captain Tanaka," Zara called out, silencing the ongoing transmissions with a royal command. "Set a course for the Galactic Confederation headquarters. It's time we made our case directly to the assembled representatives of all species." Tanaka's eyes widened, but a slow smile spread across her face. "Aye, Your Highness. Helm, plot a course for Confederation HQ, maximum warp." The journey to the heart of galactic politics was tense. As they traveled, news of their approach spread, and soon the Starship Terror found itself at the center of a diplomatic storm. Ships from various species, some welcoming, others wary, formed an impromptu escort fleet around them. Upon their arrival, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation was packed to capacity. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the tiered seats, their varied forms creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. Princess Zara stood at the podium, Captain Tanaka and Dr. Webb flanking her on either side. The weight of the moment was palpable, the future of interstellar relations hanging in the balance. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Confederation," Zara began, her voice carrying clearly across the hushed chamber. "We come before you today, not just as Etherians or humans, but as members of a crew that has witnessed the true potential of cooperation between our species." She recounted their harrowing encounter with the interdimensional rift, emphasizing how the combined strengths of both species had saved countless lives. As she spoke, holographic displays showed footage from the Terra's logs, allowing the assembled dignitaries to witness the crisis and its resolution firsthand. "What you see here is more than just a successful mission," Zara continued. "It is a glimpse into a future where the boundaries between our species fade, where we stand united against the challenges of the cosmos." Captain Tanaka stepped forward. "We've seen firsthand that our differences are not weaknesses, but strengths. Human adaptability combined with Etherian precision allowed us to achieve the impossible." Dr. Webb added his voice to the argument. "The scientific advancements we've made together in just a few short weeks outstrip decades of isolated research. Imagine what we could accomplish with full cooperation between all our species." As they spoke, Zara could see the impact of their words rippling through the assembly. Some representatives nodded in agreement, while others whispered heatedly to their neighbors. But their testimony was not without opposition. Several influential members of both the Etherian High Council and the United Earth Alliance rose to voice their concerns about security risks, cultural contamination, and the upset of long-standing power balances. The debate raged for hours, with representatives from other species joining in, some seeing opportunity in closer cooperation, others fearing the rise of a new dominant alliance in galactic politics. As the arguments reached a fever pitch, Zara realized that words alone would not be enough. In a move that shocked the entire assembly, she removed her ceremonial regalia, symbols of her royal status that no Etherian monarch had ever willingly set aside. "Look at us," she said, gesturing to herself, Tanaka, and Webb. Etherian human, stripped of rank and station. In the face of cosmic peril, we are all equal. Our mission has shown that together, we are stronger than the sum of our parts. We cannot let fear and mistrust squander this opportunity for true unity. A hush fell over the assembly. The boldness of Zara's action, the sincerity in her voice, seemed to penetrate even the most hardened skeptics. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the mood in the chamber began to shift. Representatives who had been arguing moments before found common ground. Ideas for joint scientific ventures, cultural exchange programs, and cooperative defense initiatives began to take shape. As the session drew to a close, a historic resolution was passed. The Galactic Confederation would establish a new division dedicated to fostering cooperation between all member species, with the Human-Aetherian Alliance serving as its founding model. Zara, Tanaka, and Webb left the chamber exhausted but triumphant. They had won more than just political victory. They had laid the groundwork for a new era of galactic cooperation. As they prepared to return to the Terra, Zara found herself looking at her human companions with new eyes. "I never imagined," she said softly, "that this journey would lead us here." Tanaka grinned. "That's the beauty of exploration, Your Highness. You never know what you'll discover, out there, or within yourself." Webb nodded in agreement, and this is just the beginning. The real work starts now. Zara felt a surge of excitement at the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. The battle for unity had been hard-fought, but the true test of their alliance was yet to come. As they boarded their ship, ready to embark on new adventures, Zara knew that whatever the cosmos had in store for them, they would face it together, as one crew, one team, one united force for discovery and progress. A new era of cooperation. The months following the historic Galactic Confederation Summit saw a flurry of activity across known space. The Starship Terra, once a lone vessel of exploration, had become the flagship of a new age of interspecies cooperation. Princess Zara stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Station, a massive space habitat that orbited a neutral star system. The station was a marvel of combined technologies, its gleaming spires a testament to Aetherian architecture, while its adaptive internal systems showcased the best of human innovation. "Quite a view, isn't it, Your Highness?" Captain Tanaka's voice came from behind her. Zara turned, a smile playing on her features, an expression she had grown comfortable with during her time with humans. "Indeed, Captain, though I admit, I find myself missing the adventure of deep space exploration." Tanaka laughed. "Don't worry, we'll be back out there soon enough. But first, we have some guests to welcome." As if on cue, a series of ships began to appear from warp space. Vessels of all shapes and sizes, representing dozens of species from across the Galactic Confederation, arrived for the official inauguration of the Interspecies Cooperative Initiative, ICI. The main conference hall of Unity Station was a hive of activity. Diplomats, scientists, and military personnel from various species mingled, their translators working overtime to facilitate communication. At the center of it all stood Zara, Tanaka, and Dr. Webb, the unlikely trio who had sparked this revolution in galactic relations. As Zara prepared to give her opening address, she caught sight of a group of young Aetherians chatting animatedly with human students. The sight warmed her hearts. This was the future they had fought for. "Distinguished representatives," Zara began, her voice carrying across the hall. "A year ago, we stood at the brink of crisis, divided by our differences. Today, we stand united, not in spite of those differences, but because of them." She went on to outline the achievements of the past months: joint scientific breakthroughs, cultural exchange programs, and cooperative defense initiatives that had already yielded impressive results. "But our work is far from over," she continued. "The cosmos is vast and full of wonders and dangers beyond our imagination. It is only through continued cooperation, through the combining of our unique strengths, that we can hope to face whatever challenges lie ahead." As Zara spoke, holographic displays showcased some of the ICA's ongoing projects. There was footage of a human Aetherian team using modified crystal lattice technology to terraform a once-inhospitable planet. Another display showed a mixed-species crew piloting a new class of exploration vessel, pushing the boundaries of known space further than ever before. Dr. Webb stepped forward to present the scientific advancements. "By combining Aetherian precision with human creativity, we've made leaps in fields ranging from medicine to propulsion technology. Our latest breakthrough in quantum communication could revolutionize galactic-wide information sharing." Captain Tanaka followed, outlining the new joint defense strategies. "We're stronger together," she emphasized. "Our combined fleet has already successfully repelled 2 incursions from hostile extragalactic entities." As the presentations continued, Zara could see the excitement building in the room. Species that had once viewed each other with suspicion were now engaged in eager discussion, sharing ideas, and making plans for future collaborations. The event wasn't without its tense moments. Some representatives still harbored doubts about the rapid pace of integration. Concerns about cultural preservation and technological disparity were raised and addressed openly. Zara welcomed these discussions. "Our strength lies not in erasing our differences," she reminded the assembly, "but in celebrating them while working towards common goals." As the day wore on, Zara found herself in conversation with Exorcian philosopher, a species known for their cautious approach to galactic affairs. "Your Highness," the Exorcian said, its crystalline form shimmering, "while I admire the progress made, I must ask, are we not moving too fast? Change on this scale usually takes generations." Zara considered the question carefully. Perhaps by traditional standards, yes, but the crisis we faced showed us that the universe won't always wait for us to be ready. We must adapt, evolve, and grow together, or risk facing cosmic challenges divided and unprepared. The Exorcian's crystals pulsed in what Zara had learned was a sign of deep thought. A compelling argument, it finally conceded. Perhaps it is time for even us Exorcians to embrace a more dynamic approach to galactic relations. As the inauguration ceremony drew to a close, Zara found herself back on the observation deck, this time joined by both Tanaka and Webb. The 3 of them watched as ships departed, carrying the spirit of cooperation back to their respective worlds. "So," Webb said, a hint of excitement in his voice, "what's next for us?" Tanaka grinned. "Well, those uncharted regions aren't going to explore themselves, are they?" Zara felt a thrill of anticipation. "Indeed, and I believe our new Exorcian friends have some interesting theories about transdimensional physics they're eager to test." As they discussed their upcoming mission, Zara reflected on how far they had come. From a reluctant princess skeptical of human capabilities, she had become a driving force for galactic unity. The journey had changed her people, and reshaped the very fabric of interstellar society. Yet, as she looked out at the stars stretching infinitely before them, Zara knew that their greatest adventures and challenges still lay ahead. But now they would face them not as separate species, but as a united galactic community. "Well then," Zara said, her antennae quivering with excitement, "shall we see what wonders await us out there?" Tanaka nodded, her eyes sparkling. "Terra's ready whenever you are, Your Highness." "Then let's not keep the universe waiting," Webb added with a smile. As they turned to leave, preparing to embark on their next journey, Zara felt a profound sense of hope and purpose. The stars had once seemed cold and distant. Now they beckoned with the promise of discovery, unity, and a future brighter than any single species could have imagined alone. The Starship Terra, symbol of their unlikely alliance, awaited, and beyond it, the infinite cosmos, full of mysteries to unravel, challenges to overcome, and new friendships to forge. Together, they would write the next chapter in the grand story of galactic civilization. As the observation deck doors closed behind them, the stars seemed to twinkle just a little brighter, as if in anticipation of the adventures to come.